All right. Well, Mr. Kevin Bianchi, I got to say your name right. Sometimes I don't spit out words correctly anymore.
Well,
It's pretty sad.
that's okay. Well, everyone has different.
Yeah. But I got it right this time.
Yeah, well
And
done.
your project, your band, whatever you want to, whatever you consider it, Vanishing Shores.
Right.
Um, but yeah, welcome.
That's right.
Thanks for thanks
Thank
for joining us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
really
good to
appreciate
have you.
it. It's good to be here.
Yep, great to have you. I got a ton of questions. I think I have more questions than I've ever had. So we'll
Yeah, you
see.
did
Uh,
good.
Yeah, Jim's seen them. Yeah,
I was
I don't
trying
know
to
why I
find them. That's
didn't.
what I've been doing.
Oh, hey, you've been looking for them. Yeah, I sent
I
them to
found
you.
them.
What,
Yeah,
late last night?
yeah,
yeah.
We always
yeah,
share and then we kind of mix them up. These questions and merge them.
we
So
went to the album backwards, and you heard some crazy stuff.
that's that's number one
Oh
question.
yeah,
Mark is
yeah.
that.
Right.
So let's get going. We'll see
Yeah,
how many we hit, and I reserve the right to go off on a tangent because I didn't
that
include
sounds good.
everything in here in my questions. I don't think so. We'll just start at the very beginning. Um,
Sounds great.
how did Vanishing Shores get started, and what was the initial spark that led to the creation of the band or project or whatever however you want to consider it?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So I've been making music for a long time. My brother and I, we grew up playing in bands and writing music. And I had done a number of things when I was younger. Um, but then I had spent a little bit of time in the Air Force, and that was kind of like the wilderness years for music.
Hmm.
And so when I came back out of the Air Force, I started a band with my brother called the Chestertons, um, which was just four guys, typical kind of rock band. And as part of that, I just started to write so many songs, and it just got to be this huge backlog of songs, and it became kind of a frustration for me having to arrange the same four guys to figure out schedules. I mean, we're all older, we all had kids, you know how that
Yeah.
goes. It's
Hmm.
not in time to pretend to be rock stars, probably, but it just it got so busy, such a backlog of songs. So the idea for Vanishing Shores was simply that kind of a side outlet where I could play with whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and I didn't have to be tied to a certain schedule of musicians and a certain, um, idea of what a band could be. It just was me and whoever was there in the moment. And I'm just saying it sounds kind of selfish, but it turned into something that was really a grace to me of being able to collaborate with a lot of people and creating a community of friends and artists who could come in and out, but still feel part of it and a valid part of it and a meaningful part of it. So that's been really good. So that was the idea of Vanishing Shores and how that started, just as kind of a side thing, but it has grown into kind of a community of a bunch of different friends and collaborators. Um, that's been really rich for me and meaningful for me.
Awesome. That's
What was the
great.
second part of that question?
What was and this kind of covers a couple questions in here, I think. What was the initial spark that led to the creation of the band? I think you kind of covered that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the initial spark was just wanting to be able to write and record and play more songs, really,
Yeah.
outside of the confines of a kind of static band. Because one kind of the rules of that band was we really didn't want to play with anyone but those four people, right? I mean, it didn't feel right to be called that band without those four people. You didn't want to have someone come in and out and replace.
Yeah.
There was something more special about just those four people to create that kind of music, but I wanted to create something apart from that, just where, like I said, you could have a community of people, and people come in and out, but it didn't mean they were any less valid or any less, a meaningful part of it. And that, I think that's a rich way to make music. Not the only way,
Yeah.
of course, but
Right.
a
Right.
way to have that kind of thing. And just like we mentioned before we came on, people like Chris Taylor and those kind of things, you could have momentary collaboration with them, and it feels good and feels right. But there's no pressure, right? There's no pressure that you're committed to, you have to be here every week practicing with me and writing.
Yeah, it's a completely different dynamic, right?
Right.
And that'll change probably, what comes out of you, creatively,
For sure. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be song to song, album to album, those kind of things, because each person brings their uniqueness to it, and I think brings the best out of you too, right? When they share a part of themselves and who they are and their creative process and insights, it makes you a better person and friend, but also a better musician and writer, I think.
Absolutely.
I
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
I know with the overlap between Chesterton's and Vanishing Shores came about because you were wanting an opportunity to write more songs, right?
Right.
And you described Chesterton's as more rock and roll, and as I think back to the early Vanishing Shores stuff, seemed like it had a little bit more of a smart pop edge to it. And so I was just curious, was there, along with just the more creative space, was there also a stylistic or sonic difference that you were nuancing between the choice of material that went to one project versus the other?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit. I mean, I think probably just the one voice to rule all voices, the one rule all, kind of lend itself to more of the things that probably I wouldn't naturally fall into without people telling me not to. Right. So that, like you said, more like the Neil Finish, Crowded House stuff. I always love Elvis Costello, and my brother can't stand him. So parts of little, Elvis Costello-y and those kind of things. So I think you're right. It followed that a little more than it did in the Chestertons and that kind of thing. That was pretty straightforward rock or, indie rock kind of band.
Now, is this the, Mark, are you referring to the self-titled album?
Yeah.
Was that the first one? 2018? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It did sound, it did have a different sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I could tell, it's not entirely different, but you can kind of tell it kind of stands apart a little bit, but
yeah. And that was produced by a good friend of mine, Dave Douglas, who was the drummer for Reliant K for most of their kind of run there. We went to college together, and he produced that, and he played drums and bass and some other stuff on there. So it took a little more of his character too for some of the sonics of it too, which was nice. And the later ones, for good or ill, have been produced by me. Every time I make a record, I say I'm never producing it again. That I need someone else, but then just the realities of it ends up being you again. But it was nice to have Dave be part of it. He's a good guy and a really creative guy. He can play everything, and that was fun.
Cool. So let's take you backwards a little bit in time to your childhood, or however old you were when you started getting into music and thinking about that and kind of going down that path.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like it's a kind of a trope or a cliche, but I mean, I really can't remember a time where there wasn't music. Our house was filled with a lot of music. My dad was really into music. I got into his collection of records for some of my early memories. So deeply into the Beatles, his Bob Dylan, the band, Van Morrison, all those, those kind of early influences. And it was always around the house. And then my mom's mom played piano. She was always at the house playing, going to church, hearing her play. So I don't really remember ever a time where there wasn't music or music wasn't a part of things that were important to me. I like a lot of kids, I took lessons, but I was terrible at it because all I wanted to do was write songs. It's like, teach me enough for me to write songs. And then, and then that was probably as far as I went, even though, now as you're older, I wish I had put in those hours to practice. Right. My brother was the opposite. He practiced like a good, dutiful student. And that's why he can play a lot better than I can. But I mean, I think there's something to be said too, for just, I'm an idea guy. I'm not like, I'm going to technically do something, but I like ideas and following paths that maybe aren't sometimes conventional and figuring it out yourself, right? I remember reading some that, and I won't bore you with too long of an answer, but I remember reading one time too, when I was younger. In Cleveland has this scene magazine, like every town has, right? The Free Press, like the Free Alternative Press. But they had an interview with Pete Townsend of The Who, and he always said in there that whenever you're stuck writing, to try writing on an instrument you don't know how to play. And I think that has served me well over the years. Whenever you get stuck, pick another instrument you don't know how to play, which for me is most of them. So that has really helped.
Awesome.
What does it do for you to grab an instrument that you're not familiar with and to write? What does it unlock for you?
Well, I mean, for one thing, it has no limit, right? There's no rules. There's nothing to stop you from exploring. Where, sometimes when you're really proficient at something, or you have prior knowledge of something, maybe unknowingly you're held back by convention, right? Or it has to be played this way, or a G chord's played this way. Your fingers just kind of do that. But when you have an instrument you don't normally play, it's a whole new world, right? It's like it's a pocket universe of ideas. So I think that's really helpful to write. Not to rely on that all the time, but to kind of get you out of a rut. I think that's important. Yeah. And of course, reading. The more you read, the better you are.
Yeah. Cool. So let's see. I've jumped around on my list a little bit.
No, that's okay.
It was my fault. But lyrically, like, where do you draw inspiration from?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I think it's important for anyone to be a good writer is basically to listen all the time, right? Conversations, reading, just fragments of things. I'm not a storyteller of a writer. I don't write stories. I don't write in any kind of narrative kind of flow. Mine, I always joke, it's like feelings of events or feelings of feelings of events, which aren't always my feelings necessarily. They could be someone else's, right? You could be putting yourself in the place of someone else and feeling what they're feeling. But so I draw inspiration from a lot of things. Certainly other good writers. It seems as I get older, I start more with titles and then work my way from there. So I'll hear a fragment of a phrase that I think is interesting, and then I write that down. And my phone is full of notes. That's one of the good things about technology. Lots of bad things about it, probably, but that you can have a voice note and a written note anywhere you are now. So that really helps, just keeping those things, and then you come back to them and piece them together. But I mean, without sounding like the cliche, certainly, I mean, I think anyone who's a believer is influenced by scripture, right? I mean, not in the sense that you're trying to explain it or be the salesman for it, but I mean, it's there, right? It's in who you are. And so that part comes out, and good spiritual writers come out. I certainly am influenced by a lot of the mystics. I love reading those because they often have those pretty powerful poetic images about how to experience certain things. But I try to find it everywhere. I know that's a really long answer to your question, but I try to find it everywhere. Song, a book, a conversation, and just try to be awake, right? Awake as much as possible in the moment for those kind of things. But I'm not wordy. I know my answer right there is super wordy, but my approach to lyric writing is why write more than necessary. It'll never be like the Bob Dylans or even the Chris Taylors of the world that we talked about, or Bill Melanie, or any of those who really have or Terry Taylor, the gift for a lot of words and profound words. But I'm not that kind of writer. I write 6 sentences where they write 50. But I try to make it honest.
With the economy of words, are you writing more for feel and mood and that sort of thing? Are you trying to convey a sense of, concept or an idea with your lyrics?
I think it could be both, but it's probably more of a feeling than again, because it's not a linear kind of narrative. I'm not telling a story in the song. I mean, I want the listener to place themselves in the story or the song, right? To make it part of their journey. But I'm not trying to tell them like a story. I'm not writing the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Or I want to re-listen to it, but I definitely am not writing it. But I mean, I think there's themes. It's probably more themes that go across the songs than a particular. This song is telling you this. I hope messages come through for sure. They mean something to me. I guess it has to start there, right?
Yeah, there's definitely themes, I think, and we'll probably get into that a little bit more when we talk about some lyrics and different songs, I think, down the list.
Yeah.
So you're in the. I'm going to go back again. You're in the Chestertons. Is that right? Is that how am I saying it right? Okay. And then were there any other projects that you know, bands or anything before that helped shape, you know, your sound or even the sound of the Chestertons?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we were in a bunch of bands. They're probably not worth remembering, but they were fun, right? Everything's a learning thing. The one project I did before the Chestertons was a little kind of concept, quasi kind of worship album that combined the glorious mysteries and the sorrowful mysteries. In Catholic, the Rosary, there's the different mysteries, and I combined the ones of like the narratives of Jesus' birth with the Passion ones. They were like alternate; they'd go back to back. And so that was kind of my re-entry after coming out of the Air Force into writing and recording again. But I don't think it necessarily influenced so much what came later, just other than getting in the practice of being an artist again, which took some work after the Air Force time.
Yeah. Now, Jim, didn't you have kind of a similar, like you were in the service? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was in the Navy, but I worked on F-14, so it's like the Naval Air Force.
Yeah, I won't make Navy jokes. But the Air Force and the Navy, we have a.
But the reason I mention it is because Jim also kind of told me something similar. You kind of, when you were in the service, you kind of were away from music for a while.
Yeah, well, I got a hold of a 4-track. I had one of those cassette 4-tracks, and I was putting some stuff together with that. But obviously, it sounded terrible. But it kept me playing. I had a guitar around all the time.
Yeah, I wrote a few songs while I was into, but it wasn't focused at all. I don't know. It's a little wilderness period, I guess.
Now, was your brother also in the service?
No.
Oh, I heard. Okay, I read that somewhere, but that was wrong, obviously.
No, my son just went to basic training, but he's coming back. That's a different time.
Yeah.
Well, that's
happens,
fine.
Right?
It's all good.
Cool. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money? We ask everybody this.
I was thinking of that because I heard it on another one of your shows.
We ask it every time because it's us. And we always say there's no judgment.
Right. I think the first one I bought with my own money was Paul McCartney, "Flowers in the Dirt," on cassette. My brother is 3 years older than me, and he the school where he went for a little bit, there was like a mall across the street. Actually, he bought it for me, but I gave him the money for it. I think that was the first one I bought with.
With
all the other
money.
albums I had before, mom and dad graciously bought.
Nice.
But that was the first one, and that was my first like really big concert too. Was that Paul McCartney tour that followed that? I remember waiting in line at JCPenney to get the ticket. And I had saved up for that. They were $30 then, and I thought that it was a ton of money.
That was a lot. Yeah,
and it was at the time for a kid, buying the tickets. But yeah, that was my first one.
So along with that,
on there too. That's when I first heard Elvis Costello, because he's on that too.
Ah, yeah. So I'm assuming that. Well, I shouldn't assume. This goes along with that. Like, so what musicians or bands had, a huge impact on you shaping the sound? Was Paul McCartney one of those?
Well, yeah, certainly the Beatles, all the Beatles.
Yeah.
Just because, again, I heard it from. It seems like the first time I ever heard music, Beatles were in the house. So they're a big one. Neil Finn, I think he's fantastic. Terry Taylor, we talked about him. Terry Taylor,
Oh yeah.
Not even so much like specifically the sound or his writing, but how he writes or how he approaches music. Right? He's a guy who can entertain anything and write about it. Right? He really has no limits. So that kind of endless curiosity. I mean, who else? I mean, he just had that double album too, right? A couple years ago. I mean, he's in his 70s. Who else you could probably name on one hand in their 70s is still that curious about music, right? I mean, there's very few people like that. So that kind of endless curiosity certainly inspires me about him. I like Bruce Cockburn a lot. I don't sound anything like Bruce Cockburn, but I love him. And Mark Hurd. I love Mark Hurd. That was probably the first I remember getting for Christmas his Dry Bones Dance on cassette. And that was like probably the first album that really opened up a whole new world for me as far as especially a Christian writing about things that you didn't hear other people writing about, right? And the way he was a brilliant poet and writer and producer and all those things. So those are probably some of the main ones. I mean, I like to think that I'm not like picking or taking so inauthentically from other people that you say, oh, that sounds like so and so, right? But that they have like their footprints and their shadows and their kind of things in there without being that they're so obvious anymore, right? Because at the beginning, like everyone, they're more obvious, and now hopefully it's my authentic voice and maybe a sense of gratitude in the music you can hear that they've helped you along, but you don't say, oh, that sounds like so and so.
Yeah, I think there's exactly what you said. I think in your music you can hear little things, little pieces, and little, I think you said footprints. You can see that, but that sounds like kind of like Tom Petty on that part, or The Call, on this part, or you can name a whole bunch of other ones too. But but it doesn't. It's not like, oh, it sounds exactly like that, or he was trying to replicate them or whatever. But and that leads to another question.
I think
I'll let you comment first. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
I was going to say, I think I'd be a poor imitation of any of those people I named anyway. It would be a very terrible Terry Taylor and a very terrible.
You got to be you.
Right.
You got to be the real Kevin.
Right.
And that leads into like, what are the comparisons that people do say that you sound like, or are there specific artists that they say, hey, you remind me of this artist, or
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I mean, I used to joke when people used to ask, at the bar or the club, they'd be like, "Who do you sound like?" And I'd always say, "I sound like your favorite band,"
Yeah.
as the joke.
Yeah, that's perfect.
They didn't ever think they didn't agree with me probably, but it's really hard sometimes to think clearly about that. In the old days, like with the Chestertons and other stuff, like any band that talks at all about God and has a delayed guitar, oh, you sound like you too. And you get sick of that stuff that, like, no, we don't sound like you too. We're going to sabotage ourselves just so we don't. But I mean, I think like some of the things you said, I mean, I think there's some, there's some Crowded House and some of it, there's some Tom Petty-ish stuff. Just that kind of tradition of songwriter, right? Where I try to focus on melody. I think melody is important, especially when you don't write many words, right? The melody has to move it along and be somewhat memorable. But all the people I like generally are melodic driven music. While I like Leonard Cohen and that, and those kind of things, it's not something I turn to on my own. It's something that's just wordy and spoken word and monotone kind of stuff. I need that melody to move it along, because I think a great melody makes the words better. Whereas you could have the best words in the world, and if there's a terrible melody, it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
And that's like, even like people like Bob Dylan, I have a hard time really emotionally connecting with him a lot of time because the melody does nothing for me. the wittiness and the wordplay and that kind of excellence only takes me so far. I need that. I need that melody to move me.
Yeah, it's much better if they're walking hand in hand, I think. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, a side comment, probably approaching a year ago, a little less than a year, I started taking notes for Vanishing Shores, and because Mark, we were talking about it, and I think the first song I listened to was Road Less Traveled, and I think the beginning of that is the most I think I've heard that resembles another artist, which was The Call, I think. Like
Yeah.
I was thinking, it sounds like "Let the Day Begin" a little bit. It doesn't sound exactly like it, but that beginning, you know what I'm talking about? That part.
No,
And
I know
then
totally.
and then I think I one of the things, I don't know if I really think this now, but I was looking at my notes from then, and I was like, and I put down the alarm for some reason, but which was kind of interesting today
Yeah.
because Mark Peters passed today. I don't know if you guys saw that or
Yeah.
but so I had to mention.
No, you're definitely right.
Mike Peters. But
You're definitely right that. Yeah, you're definitely right about the callisms in that one. I didn't really think about it as much at the time, but now every time I hear it, I think that, and I think that at some point I'm just going to go into that song from that one and just start singing "Let the Day."
Yeah, right.
And people sometimes say, and it does sound a little bit like "Get Back" too, right? It sounds like "Get Back" at the beginning, that with the Ringo shuffle there and the chords.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the lyrics and themes, that you were talking about earlier. One of the other things that when I was taking notes at the very beginning, I made a comment or a note about ghosts because the word ghost appears in a bunch of your songs. And I started noticing it pretty early when I was listening to songs. In between Monologue and Transcript, More Than It Is, Traffic Pander, like there's a whole bunch, and Maps, I think it's in there too. What do ghosts like represent to you, like, and how do they tie into, what's the feeling you're tying into, or the thought you're tying into with that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It is a repeated theme, and I think they can mean different things. Certainly in some of the songs, I mean, sometimes I'm using the ye old language as the Holy Ghost, right? So some of those are into that at various points, and the Holy Ghost haunting things, haunting us. In that, I think that's Flannery O'Connor, right? Who talks about the Christ haunted South or something. She refers to it,
yeah,
or something like that. And so there are a lot of references to that, and the Holy Ghost can mean a lot of things, right? It can be conviction. It can be warning, I guess. It could be longing. All those. It could have a number of attributes for how the Spirit works, right, and surprises us. But then also in some of those other ones, ghosts as just memories, right? And I think, I think a repeated kind of theme in a lot of these songs is with ghosts and this idea of grieving, right? Grieving for a loss of something, or grieving a time that's passed, or grieving a moment that's passed. And I think there's a certain importance or a sacredness to grief that isn't necessarily negative, right? I think that we're all, most of our lives has some sort of grieving, right? It's not meant to overcome us or overwhelm us, but it is important to remind us, right, of important things, or important love, or important moments, relationships, those kind of things. So I think that idea of with the ghost and this idea of grieving is a continual theme in those songs. And I think you rightly point that out, right?
There's a couple of my favorite lines about ghosts. There's one in Traffic Patterns. Let's see, I put it down. Ghost signals tapping out the blues.
Yeah. That comes first from that idea of on someone playing a drum, right? Ghost notes, right? Where it's kind of like those subtle, almost imperceptible kind of playing. of the drum, of the snare drum.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a drummer by any means, but they refer to as ghost notes, right? So that's where I got that idea first. But then, yeah, in this instance, the ghost is the Holy Ghost,
Yeah,
kind of tapping out the rhythm, right?
Yeah.
Of that movement, and that's another continual thing too. You have maps, you have this idea of traveling, right? That's a continual one as well of moving, hopefully in the right direction, but not necessarily. But yeah, that the idea of the Holy Ghost kind of tapping out the signal for us in that one, and that's a funny one too, because that's the first time I ever tuned the guitar to the Keith Richards tuning, that open G he does in every Rolling Stones song. I was just fooling around with it one day, but it turned kind of into almost like a Jackson Brownie kind of song to me with the melody. It's really California-y, 70s California, but it's fun.
Yeah, cool. My favorite one, and you can explain this a little bit, is from Monologue and Transcript, and it says, "We want the truth like ghosts."
Yeah, and then the next line was, is it something like, one moment the next you... Oh, I can't remember what the line is right now.
The next you want it buried low.
Yeah, buried low. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. That one right there isn't the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
That ghost there is, just the idea that we don't want it to be really present, right? We don't want it to be present. We don't really want to be confronted with it. We want it to be just kind of something lurking, but never so much that it impacts the concrete, the real present, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that counterintuitive type, thing, but that was cool. Jim, do you need to jump in here with anything, or Mark? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, talking up through that song of
hey.
talking through Monologue and Transcript. Later, we get in the song, you get this repeated line, "I can always start again. I can always start again." So you got that moment buried low. And there's this dynamic tension, right, between the grief and things ending and being buried and the starting again. But it's the last line that really, just taking a look at the lyrics again, "I can always start again." It's just harder than the last.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow.
Yeah.
No, and though that one there, that whole record there was kind of like a homey one during COVID. So when we were all in lockdown there, and it was just me kind of fooling around in the bedroom upstairs, doing those, and that line, I think, is definitely influenced by that kind of period of real isolation, right, where everyone is kind of isolated from each other. No one's really communicating. No one goes out and those kind of things. And I think on some level, I mean, that is true, right? We do have a sense of that we can always start again, right? I mean, we have a resiliency, not only as believers, but as humans, right? The humans are very resilient. We can start again, right, in a lot of difficult circumstances. But each time we do that, I think it's harder, right? And it becomes more of a challenge, right, to come back again, right?
Yeah.
It goes beyond it's not questioning that we can be forgiven, but of things, but even in forgiveness, it doesn't mean that the path is easy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be forgiven, but it's harder each time to come back, and to learn to forgive again, to learn to love again, to learn to be open again, to learn to be honest again, all those kind of things. Yeah, that you're right. It's a heavier line, simple on the surface, but when you think about it, it has some weight to it for sure. And that's the song.
So do you want to go ahead? What's that?
That song we've never played. That it was played once, never again. We'll have to bring that one out, Mark.
Yeah, got to.
That sounds good.
So, am I correct? I was getting ready to talk about this album. I think you're referring to the demo album that you made during quarantine.
Yeah.
with the French title.
Yes.
I practiced saying it yesterday, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to try, but
yeah, won't try either. But it's translated track for survival.
Yeah.
Yeah. To not to be confused with Derek Webb's new album.
So
survival songs, yeah.
Not to be confused with that.
You want to talk a little bit more about it?
Sure.
There's some great tracks on there. I like Hope is the Dark Train. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty heavy too.
Yeah, that one, all those songs in there were just kind of created in my bedroom up there, where I play most of it, the instruments on there. But at the end of it, I reached out to a friend of mine who I hadn't seen since high school. He had a studio in Chicago called Strange Magic. His name's Robbie Hamilton. And then he added a few things at the end and mixed it and those kind of things. So a lot of those good 70s kind of keyboards were him adding it, and he added some harmonies. But it was kind of fun just to tinker around, yourself and play all the instruments. Going back to the McCartney thing, it's like McCartney 1, right? Raised in his farm, doing all the songs. Mm. But yeah, Hope is the Dark Train. Again, that's kind of influenced by that whole COVID experience, that whole sense of isolation, and hope is a weighty thing. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
As we move towards what we're hoping for, right? That's a difficult journey, and that yeah. I was thinking of that in that sense of the traveling from hope to wherever the destination is like this kind of dark train, right? This midnight train, this, you can't necessarily see where it's going. It's a rocky ride. It'll ultimately get there, but the journey itself is far from clear and far from easy. That it has that weight to it. And I think, and then one of the other lines in there that always kind of gets me too is the line where it says, about somewhere in the high desert air, you forgave me once, right? And that remains. Mm-hmm. And that one always, yeah, I'm kind of getting emotional now. That always is emotional for me, thinking about the finality of God's forgiveness for us. That he said it once, he doesn't need to say it again, right? I mean, it is forever.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about also in the high desert air in Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan in the mountains and those kind of things, and that's where that image came, that high desert kind of place, and thinking about even there, right? Even there, that promise remains. So yeah, that one means a lot to me, that song.
Yeah, cool. I really love the idea. I hadn't really thought about it, but when I was listening to it, I was like, hope, when you talk about hope, you're like, oh, it's such a positive thing. And it's like, but in order for for hope to exist, that means there's something that you're hoping against. Like there's something dark or contrast, or, something, right. Some turmoil or, something going on that you need to have that, pursue that. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to talk about maps, Jim.
Sure.
I always ask Jim every once in a while, "Hey, you want to jump in, Jim? You want to?"
Well, I have
if you have a question
here, but it's not my turn. It's not one of my questions. So
okay, I was going to give you the opportunity.
Call me on my question. Don't worry about me. It's not about me.
I can't remember whose question is whose anymore.
I'll raise my hand.
You'll say shh. Be quiet, Jimmy. Maps. So, talk about how the process of creating this album was different from your earlier releases.
Yeah, so this one was the first, probably in a decade plus, that I was the producer of the album. So I had a pretty specific idea of how I wanted all those songs to go in my little Mad Hatter, mad scientist way. All those bits and pieces, how how I wanted it to be. And that was partly because a lot of the songs had some personal elements to it. Some of the songs reference my father-in-law, who was struggling with Alzheimer's at the time, in songs like Long Gone and First Light. And so they were really important to me, those songs. And so I wanted to kind of finally try to get the madness in the head out, how it was in the head, out on record. And that was done by a pretty core group of people there, local musicians there that we'd played with before. My brother played most of the guitars, if not all of them. I think maybe he played all of them on the album. Justin Hartman, who was in the Chestertons as well, and he has another band called Emily and Ivory. He played bass and sang a little bit. And Katie Egan, this was her first album with us, and she's kind of remained as a pretty frequent collaborator on not only songs but live performances. So it had that big kind of blend of voices, lots of voices on there, which was very different from the first EP. And some may say a little bit of overproduction at moments from me trying to be George Martin. Maybe adding a few too many strings, maybe adding a few harpsichords here that are unnecessary, but I just can't get away from some of that, right? Well, yeah. Once you listen to some of those Beach Boy albums too, you think, oh, I need harpsichord. So, or Mellotron. There's lots of Mellotron.
Oh, all yeah, nice.
Places are present.
Yeah. Cool. The two songs you mentioned in particular are the two I had notes about. There's a lot of great songs on there, and I had a lot of different little snippets of lyrics from a bunch of different songs. You know, like I think Maps, it has, there's Love is Always Running in the Underground, something like that, right? But the two songs you mentioned, Moving, sorry.
No, I was trying to think of it too.
Yeah. That one's off the top of my head, so I didn't have a note. But the two you mentioned, Long Gone and First Light, there were a couple great, really cool lines. So Long Gone, I really like the line, "Oh, star of the sea, you know how wild I can be, but somewhere in the dark, pray for me." I love that line.
And that's another name for Mary, Star of the Sea. So that's a reference.
Okay, cool. I
didn't
realize. Oh, cool.
Stella Maris, right? The Star of the Sea. Mm-hmm. So that's a reference to asking Mary to pray there. And yeah, those lines in that song in First Light are really emotional. Music has a way of making me emotional just by thinking about some of those things, those lines. And sometimes it's hard to sing them. I sang, just as a side note, the First Light one at my wife's dad's funeral, and I couldn't make it through any of it. It was just a blubbering mess about singing it. But Long Gone, because it has that, for me, it has that dual piece. It starts off as the human longing for the separation of a loved one, being gone, don't be gone long. But then it moves into that kind of eschatological thing of, Christ, don't be gone so long. Waiting for that ultimate resurrection part. And it's subtle, but I mean, that was the idea in that one.
Is that this? Let me see if I have this right. Is that the song that starts out? You spent time walking a crooked line.
Yeah,
that's the beginning, right?
Yeah, I've been taking my time following a crooked line.
Yeah. Cool. And then First Light, the line I really love is no love is ever gone, no race is ever run. It's just seems like a very bold statement. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. And that is kind of referencing again this idea that there's really no end, right? We're all connected. There's never really a point where we're not. At least in my belief, of this idea too of, I know we're using a lot of, if I'm using too many religious terms, tell me I'm using too
It's
many.
okay.
But this idea of
Cool.
The community of saints, right? This all of believers of all time, this story that God has been working from the beginning, it will never end. All the love that we have for each other, all the love that we have for those to come, there's no separation from it in this larger idea of the communion of saints. So that was the idea of thinking about that in that chorus, where it says, no love is ever gone, no race is ever run, first light will always come, right? Mm-hmm. That journey, that love that we give and express, that movement forward is continual. It never ends. There's no break in it. What we think is separation isn't separation at all. Isn't really loss at all. It's just a continuing story that continues to be told and continues to be lived in us. And that, and even contrasting it when we talk about hope is a dark train, in this, referencing the positive part of that, right, where first light will always come, right? There'll always be that realization of the hope that was difficult, that was dark. There'll always be that moment where hope is realized again for us.
How do you relate that whole concept, related to like how you interact with people, in your everyday life, that feeling and that whole concept of like love is never gone, in that whole communion of saints that you referred to?
Well, I hope it makes me more kind. I hope it makes me more, graceful and
Mm-hmm.
and less of a jerk. But we all struggle with that, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we can get caught up in the sense of all those things that we wish we didn't do, right? Regret. Whereas that isn't forever, right? Regret, the wrong we do isn't forever. The pain isn't forever. The hurt we cause isn't forever. But those moments of love, those little moments of light, those fractures of light, those slivers of love do remain. So it's just trying to keep that perspective of what it is that lasts, right? And hoping that is more of a motivator than the other. Using that word hope again, but there's a lot of talk in these songs about grieving, but there's not a lot of talk about guilt, right?
Yeah.
So, guilt is not a very good motivator, but that sense of longing and love and forgiveness and all those things, even in whatever small measure they are, that those things last, is far more motivating, at least to me. As we think about people around us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jim, do you have anything related to maps or specifically? Or Mark? Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
The production of the album and getting to play George Martin there and have some fun with that. I've always been struck by the opening, the long, slow build.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And the long, slow fade out. Between those, the opening track, Road Less Traveled. Holy cow! I've listened to that so many times, and the title wasn't common to me. But that long, slow build for Road Less Traveled, and then the long, slow fade out to First Light have always kind of struck me as sort of sonic bookends for the album. And I'm, just kind of curious where that, where the vision, what were you looking at? What were you hoping to convey through those musical choices?
Yeah, the opening I came up with, in the ending montage my brother came up with. But the opening, I wanted it to start from like chaos, where it was kind of disconnected chaos, and then it burst forth into something. So there's everything's a little bit kind of coming in at random times at the beginning. It's kind of like that again, not to make it seem more important than it is, but this idea of like pre-creation, right? There's chaos. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's that journey that before we started, it's wild. There's a lot of unknowns. There's things coming in and out, and it's not really unified in a singular purpose. And then it all kind of comes together and, hits that one moment where it all kind of, then it's off to the races. But that was my idea there, of kind of in a kind of crude musical form, represent the kind of pre-creation chaos, where everything's a little disconnected. And then at the end, my brother made that long fade out, and he adds harp. That is not me. I just want that on record. I did not add harp. That's not in my toolkit. But he did that in the same kind of sense, where it started with chaos, it ends in some kind of resolution, right? Where the chaos at the beginning is now resolved at the end in a kind of more triumphant ending than it started. Then the journey started. So that was his idea for that.
Nice. I have another song I wanted to talk. Go ahead.
Since we were playing off the Beatles and some more, you talked about that creation, or that chaos pre-creation, and couldn't help but think of McCartney's Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, right?
Well,
and it's a whole, recording some of that at the, wasn't that at that Brian Studio 29D?
Oh, Maps.
Yeah.
All of Maps was at Brian's studio there.
So Chaos and Creation in the Backyard at home, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly right. And having that album too, I think you can hear a little bit of the closer knit of the musicians too, because we're all friends, right? We're all used to each other and those kind of things, and some of those pieces fall together more easily than maybe some of the other ones.
Remind me what the live album Dead. What's the
Deadline?
Yeah, you guys, you did that song, I think, on that, right?
Yeah, that's
it had the intro, which was really cool.
That line. Oh, you mean Road Less Traveled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had that intro, and I think it was really cool. Like I think the drums are kind of rolling, and then it kind of backs off, and then it kind of does some other things, and then it comes back in. I thought, it was really done well live, I thought.
And I had this idea for Mark was at that show actually, where we kind of all came out at individual times. So the drums come out, or I think the first one was maybe the keyboard with that drone, that kind of Indian drone. And then each piece kind of built, and then when I finally came out, we kind of hit right into the song. That was my big dramatic idea for how we would enter from the wings one at a time and start our chaotic noise, and then come together right when I came up.
Cool.
It was fun.
Yeah, it sounded great. It was very, very, I don't know, it was I really connected with it emotionally. I
appreciate it. Yeah,
the way it was done. Yeah,
thank you.
So we're two more than it is, which is the latest EP. It's an EP, right?
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be a full-length record, and time and other forces worked against me to complete that time. So it became a part one. It really shouldn't be a part one.
Gotcha. So in that song, we have another line about ghosts. All of these ghosts like passing friends.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that line?
Yeah, this one again isn't the Holy Ghost this time. It's just kind of, this one is essentially being haunted by, for good or bad, I'm not saying a negative necessarily haunting, but an emotional kind of memory of events or people, or things that you've done, and just being haunted by them in the present, affecting how you see the world, how you experience things in the present. And it's more, this is another one that is an emotional one for me. And it deals with the grieving again, a certain sense of grieving. But the important kind of summary of it is in that chorus, right? More than it is. Everything that we do and experience and interact with is more than we can ever see, right? More than we can ever explain, or more than we can ever try to quantify in any way. And trying to remind myself, sometimes songs are reminders to yourself, right? Remind yourself to see the importance of those moments, to see the value in those moments in every conversation, interaction, no matter how small. And on this song here too, the chorus, or I don't know if it's chorus, there's two chords the whole entire time, right? It never varies from those two chords for 6 minutes. But it has that part, I've walked a lonely mile, right? And that is that divine longing, right? The longing for God there. Sometimes I confuse the God and girl in songs, but that one is God.
Yeah.
That one's clearly God.
I'm glad you mentioned that line, because I was thinking of that one, and you also have we talked about the crooked line.
Yeah, right.
And the crooked line is also lonely.
Right.
That lonely. So
a crooked, lonely line.
yeah. But that was cool. Yeah, I really love that song. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah, and it has.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The background vocals there always get me. That's from Abby Parker. She's Derek Webb. And it's just the layering of that. She did a beautiful job. And even how her voice kind of weaves in and out with the cello there as well. I mean, it's a really beautiful part, I think, and an emotional part.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I was going to ask about that. And then that ties into one of my questions that I had, as far as like, backing vocals or duets, harmonies. Like, I really feel like that your use of that ties into the theme of your music, and that we're all, our commonality,
Yeah.
and can you comment on that?
I mean, I don't know if I can adequately quantify, but I mean, I think that the harmonies there are very deliberate, right? It's meant to be a kind of communion of voices, right? And a shared journeying within those songs. And I find it just a beauty in that kind of joining of male and female voice too. And I think it's a deliberate act to try to join those two, right? The both kind of perspectives and both experiences of that journey too. That it's not a singular male voice.
Yeah.
It's a union, right? Like undoing the curse of the garden. It's a union as it was meant to be.
Yeah, I mean the female and male, like putting those vocals together, it's like that's the perfect, like, display of bringing people together, I feel like, you
Yeah.
know. And you have what's the song, There's No Distance Between Us, you know, you have all these songs that are related to that type of, message, I feel like. And I
Right.
think that, having those, even, whether it's female or vocals, layering, of even two males or whatever, I feel like that enhances that message, and makes the listener feel that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that was even the name of Vanishing Shores was meant to kind of convey that image of, the all eventually being enveloped by that big ocean, right? They're all one in an ocean, and the shores ebbing away and being minimized by the water until it's just ocean. And that theme does pop up pretty frequently, as you're saying there in the lyrics, right? Like no distance between us, and some of the other ones.
Can you comment on the okay, so first of all, who plays drums typically, or is it more than one person?
Well, it depends on the record, but if you're
Okay.
talking about this album here, Possible Light, that was a guy named Efrain Hernandez, and he's kind of been our guy since this album forward. He's played on just about everything. He's a really talented guy, local guy.
I really like a lot of the like I'll call them I'll get it wrong because I'm not a drummer or a musician, but like the rolling drums kind of that sound that you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love the sound of incorporating that. And you do that on a number of songs. I think Blurred might have that something kind of like that in there, but yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and he like every drummer hates it when someone comes to them and says, "Don't use hi-hat." But
Yeah.
that's like a typical instruction I give him is no hi-hat,
No,
uh, and not a lot of other stuff. And the other thing he hates is when I say, "Do a feel like Ringo here," but but he's become used to it because drummers who are really good do a lot of things, right? They do a lot of busy things, but I like simple drums, and so a lot of them are pretty stripped back like that. But I think, at least for me, it kind of adds to the overall feeling of it. And sometimes even some of those are almost like a heartbeat kind of drum, right? Where you hear that kind of movement of repetition, rhythm, what would be a heartbeat, and that's intentional too, to try to get to those core kind of emotional elements, even in the drums. I mean, I think the drums can be really emotional. It's an instrument that you don't normally probably think of. Like, what's the most emotional instrument? You don't think drums, but I think there's a lot in drums that can that kind of that feeling and that longing, that emotive kind of longing, and he does a great job of it, even though he wants to play more hi-hat.
Those are the first couple
ahead,
Peter Gabriel albums he made. Phil Collins not use a hi-hat. That's made me think of that.
Yeah, and almost every Beach Boy record too, you never hear a hi-hat. Not that my songs sound anything like the Beach Boys, but going back to my Brian Wilson fanaticism, there's hardly any hi-hat on that. And Ringo does that a lot too, where he doesn't use a hi-hat, because it just serves the song, right? It just serves the song. It's not flashy at all. It's sometimes getting to those core elements make it more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I have the right song. I think it was Blurred. I think there's probably synthesizers in a lot of songs, I think, but I think there's a synthesizer in that song along with the drums that comes in at one part. I might have the wrong song, but can you talk about your approach to integrating synthesizers into the sound and how you tie that in and with the emotion of the song?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the synthesizer parts are meant to be kind of just texture, and add to that kind of pad. And sometimes they're kind of celestial sounding, right? And they're just meant to fill out that emotive space without necessarily playing individual notes. So a lot of them kind of hang over and just kind of fill out the space. And a lot of times that's me playing those, so there's not a lot of virtuosity in it. It's just kind of again trying to add an emotive element to it, especially in those more quiet spaces, like you mentioned, Blurred, or the keyboard part in There Is No Distance Between Us. That's not me, but especially in the part where he where it says "I lie awake in this ocean of stars." That part, I mean, it's this kind of a celestial part, right? Where it's just kind of a washing over you kind of part, not necessarily, again, individual notes or flashy, but just a texture that kind of adds to the lyric.
Yeah, I think I had this in my notes, but maybe I didn't. That line you just said, was that a duet, or maybe she came in on that on part of it? Yeah.
She sings part, yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was awesome. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I like that part. That's again an emotive part, singing it with her, and then I think the next line is "Your skin alive with this mystery of ours."
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
yeah, I think that's a powerful moment in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, let's see here. I lost my place. So, um, you performed live with James McCartney in the past.
My
This is one of
question.
Jim's. You want to ask this question, Jim? Go
Your
for it,
question.
buddy.
Yes, I do.
You're supposed to hold your hand up.
All right. You performed live with
This.
James.
Did you only get one question, Jim?
Okay. All right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You performed live with James McCartney in the past. How was that experience, and what did you take away from it?
Yeah, it was a kind of an odd experience. We played at a place called the Beachland Ballroom. It's one of those kind of local Cleveland ones that is kind of famous. And we ended up getting an opening slot for him for that. And we kind of joke about it now, but we're really excited. Hey, it's Paul's son, right? We're gonna play with the Beatles' son, and we went up to talk to him, and all that he said to us was, "I'm not shaking hands at the moment."
Oh wow.
That was like the extent of the conversation.
This is during like the COVID stuff. Like is that related to that?
It was long before that.
I'm not shaking hands at the moment.
I'm not shaking hands at the moment. Okay. I mean, he was a really shy guy, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that just want to, hassle him or whatever. But then afterwards, after the show, there was a guy who used to come to a number of our shows who was a magician, and then
cool.
He like did a trick for him, and then all night that was like his best friend. That was McCartney's best friend, this magician that came with us. I mean, he probably had him do 50 tricks. He was trying to buy him drinks all night and whatever else. But so at least we brought James some joy with our friend and his magic tricks, but he didn't want to shake our hands.
So is he kind of an introverted type guy then, probably?
Oh yeah, totally. He was totally introverted, and I understand. It's fine. It was just cool to be able to play with him and to be a part of it, and he was it's not like he was rude. He just
yeah
he just didn't want to shake our hands. He's not shaking
like germs.
I wanted to be like, well, are there moments where you do shake hands?
Not that night.
Only between a certain time frame,
Yeah, exactly. But it was a good one. It was good to do that, and we played a few shows with certainly better people than us back in the day too. We opened up for Sixpence one time. We opened up for Visual in the past, and it's always good to play with people who are much better than you, and to just see them how they do it, and learn from everybody. That's the best way.
What's the one song you perform live that really resonates with you in the crowd, and why do you think it connects with people and you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them that are really emotional for me to do live. Blurred is one of them. I probably sung that song more than any of them probably that we've done, and every time I get to that part, the ask me anything, you can ask me anything. Even talking about it. I mean, that one, I get emotional every time I sing that one, that line. And I think that one has connected normally with the people who come and see us. I mean, I think it's a moment where, it's just kind of all stripped away, right? Any distance or artifice is stripped away, and it's just, you're there together, right? In that moment, in those lines of affirmation and meaning. I think that's probably the one that's the most, there's sometimes First Light. I think that one, it definitely always has a connection of that, and with the crowd, and those are probably the two most that do that. But it's hard to know sometimes, right? Just like with us, on certain days, a certain song means more to us than another, and then the next day a different one. And that's the beauty of music, right? That it has that way to weave in and out of our lives in different ways at different times, at different seasons, and finding different beauty in different moments. But definitely, and for me, I mean, I don't I'm not the easiest person to talk about feelings with people all the time. I'm not. I joke that I'm really an introvert, but I'm an extrovert at work just to survive. But
Yeah.
I listen more than I share normally. So when singing a lot of those songs, it's like the moment where I let it out.
You get to
So
share.
yeah, a lot of them are emotional for me, and they hit me at various moments like that. And I think
That's
that's good.
interesting. That's interesting because, you know, we're probably because we're in the context of this conversation, you come across as a very emotional, thoughtful, sharing person. But you
Well,
know, we're talking about music though. So and your music. So
well, this is a safe spot. This is a safe spot, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
Mark
right.
knows all the bad secrets already.
This is a slightly different question, but it's similar, and you'll probably have a different answer. Um, is there a particular song or lyric that you feel represents the core of Vanishing Shores' message or mission as a band?
Yeah, that's a harder one. I mean, the first part about the mission part's a tricky one, right? Because
Yeah.
I feel like, um, I mean, we are who we are, but we don't. It's not like we're. It's not like we're Petra. You know what I'm saying? It's the age-old like T-Bone Burnett quote, right? You either sing about the light or what you see because of the light, right? And
You're not, are you on fire? Are you
yeah,
on fire? Wasn't there an album?
yeah, exactly.
On fire.
This means war.
This means war. Hey, I love those albums.
Me, I was at all those shows, right?
Yeah.
I think one of my first shows, other than the Paul McCartney one, was "Beat the System."
Beat the
That,
System. Yeah.
yeah.
That was awesome.
Again, I'm not that. There was no judgment on Petra. I'm just mean that we're not those kind of people as a band. I
Yeah.
think we're much more. We emphasize the relational part of it, and we try to be authentic ourselves, and again make the most of little moments. But I mean, I think a lot of the lyrics, as you pointed out, kind of repeat a lot of these same themes, right?
Yeah.
This idea of hope, this idea of love, persevering, this idea that there's more than we can see, and that we're loved, right? In all of its messiness, in all of its oftentimes lack of clarity or confusion, and all of that. And I think that message comes through in pieces, and I think because it is how it is, and expressed in those ways, I think it does, as you mentioned, to promote a relational kind of response to it, right? We want people to add their story to our story, essentially, right? And to be a part of that as best we can, at best as a rock band can, right? Yeah. No rock band is gonna solve your problem, but we can remind you, right? Just like all of us on this call, right? We need to be reminded and remind each other that we're loved, and that there's hope, and that we're in this together, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And hearing that, you can, you know, that makes you want to share, like, you know, you kind of reciprocate to people, you know, when you hear that message, you know, you feel more open to share, you know. So yeah, I think that's cool.
And we used to I used to joke too that, you know, the best protest song of all is a love song, right? Is a song of unconditional love. That's the best protest song you could ever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be singing songs about X Vote for Change tour, but I'll sing love songs all night, right? And that's my protest against the forces of darkness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the ultimate rebel song, is a love song, right?
All you need is love.
Exactly.
We're right back to the Beatles.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
What was it? What was Larry Norman's song? All you need is love, and then they broke up.
Yeah.
You know that Larry have you heard that
Righteous
song?
Rocker or something?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a big Larry Norman buff from way back. My dad and I went to see Larry Norman once when I was little, and I just remember us driving down the street, and it was like a whole line of bikers. We're like, "Yep, that's it.
Yeah. That's where we're in the right place." That's awesome.
He was also not into handshaking that day, but he was a
Larry.
little.
It's a bit eccentric, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he's got a lot of great songs for sure.
Yeah, he's cool. But I just remember that one came to my mind because I think my sister had the album. I must have been pretty young.
So only
maybe
visiting
13,
this planet?
maybe 13 or something like that. And I remember that song. The Beatles said, "All you need is love," and then they broke up.
Alice was a drag queen. Bowie somewhere in between. That one.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to revisit that album.
You're gonna have to revisit the planet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna have to revisit. Jim, you had another question, but I think it got answered. Do you want to ask it anyway about the name of the band?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. Well, I mean, I thought there was some reference to the coast depleting because of
that's
global warming. Is that correct?
Yes, that was correct. Sorry to steal your question.
That was a question.
It has the name of the band has a dual meaning, right?
Yeah,
more than one meaning, we'll say.
Right.
Yeah,
multiplicity of reasons, meanings.
That's the correct answer. Yes, exactly. Oh shoot, I
have
had
a question
one
about
Go ahead,
Coast
Jim.
Road.
Yes,
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
it's your latest single.
Yeah.
Is it referring to a specific road on the coast?
No
question.
not a specific road. And actually, that was a Chesterton song that I just didn't want to die. So I re-released it as a Vanishing Shores song and just had replaced some of the instruments on it.
Oh, cool.
I love that song.
One of my favorite songs. And that one's always fun to sing. One of my favorite songs to sing. Again, just a song about persevering, but and remembering to be awake, right? To stay awake to what's around us and those kind of things. But it is a fun one. It is really fun to sing. Mark sang it with us at the show before, right? In the crowd, Mark?
Oh, in the crowd, yes. Not up on stage.
I was going to say, it was Mark up on stage.
In the crowd.
Oh, you talked about staying awake. That reminded me of another question because I didn't write this down. But the kids are sleeping. Is that metaphorical or not,
literal.
or both? Literal?
Well,
yeah, thank you for the word. Literal.
It originally was thinking about my boys at the time, and they were small at the time. So it was about them sleeping. I wrote those lyrics on a when we were at someone else's show in a bar on a napkin. And I was just thinking about them kind of home sleeping, and we're out, here at this bar, probably wasting time watching this band and other stuff. Yeah. So it was literal, but I think it probably is more powerful as a metaphor than a literal reference. But I did think about my boys sleeping when I wrote that.
And working on the landing or something like that.
Yeah, one more drink and I'll what was it? Mark, something you're the expert.
Finish the landing, I think, or something like that. I had since we're on this, talk about the line, it always leaves a mark. You know what line I'm talking about, Mark? It always leaves a mark. I can't remember the first part of it. There's something, but it always leaves a mark. Not mark, but a mark, like a scar. Maybe it always leaves. No, I think it's a mark.
Kids are sleeping too?
I think so.
Yeah. We always laugh it off, but it leaves a mark, the fading in, the fading out of the thing we need the most.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's just kind of the danger, right? Of just, we seem to act so tough. We make jokes about everything and we kind of bottle it up. Really, that's about me, right? And I said I'm not the first one to share. But when really that's what we need the most, right? We need that connection. We need that relational union. We need that communion. And not just to laugh it off, right? Not to laugh off those moments of loss or grief or pain or any of those important things. And so that those couple lines are directly to me about that. And the thing we need the most, again, the connection, right? We need the connection. That's what we need the most, with each other, with God. And what was the last line? Oh, the fading in, the fading
of the
out.
thing we,
Fading
yeah,
out.
the fading
Yeah.
in, the fading out of the thing we need the most.
Right, exactly. Right. Of those important relationships, of the things that matter, right? We seem to spend the least amount of time on those. They just kind of, when in fact that is what we need the most, right?
Yeah. Wow. Now I'm sitting here reflecting. I don't have time to reflect right now. That'll be later.
On your own time.
That'll be yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's a ton. I apologize because there's a ton of lines that we could talk about all night. I think you know, your songs are very like there's these little lines that just kind of niggle at you, I think, and they just kind of exist in their own context, you know, aside from any specific direct message or anything that you're getting. It's like, oh, and then you could take it and you just kind of reflect and go, okay, oh wow, this kind of makes me feel this, and now I'm thinking about this, and maybe he didn't mean this, but he took me this direction anyway. I don't know.
Well, I really appreciate.
I'm rambling.
I mean,
so
that means a lot to me that it does that to you, and that's what every writer hopes, right? That somehow you can connect with someone. So that means a lot. I really appreciate that. I don't hear that very often, so it feels good.
Well, probably from this group. I mean, I feel like I know Mark's like this, and Jim. I think we would much rather not be hit over the head, So we'd have these little lines where it makes you reflect and think about things. And what does that mean exactly? Oh, well, here's what it means to me, but I don't know.
But
that's cool.
And that, again, that's the hope that it would do that, because I think it's even more important when a listener finds a meaning and a different meaning in it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because my experience and those things are so small, but once it connects with someone else and they add to their story and find meaning in it, in their experience in their life, it makes it much bigger and much more meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. What, I know you're talking about, you're probably continuing to make part 2.
Yeah, part 2 just needs the vocals, and it's been that way since probably 2020.
Yeah. Oh wow. And so then will you just make it part 2, or will you just kind of put it together as a full album? It depends probably.
Well, I think part 2 will come out first, but then it'll come out together.
Yeah. As a CD or whatever one.
Yeah, because it was meant to be heard as a complete thing. It frustrates me a little bit to have it in piecemeal, because it doesn't have the whole story, right? It's missing the whole arc.
Yeah,
But
it's like one of those hangers, like you get,
But wait,
like
they're more.
They released Cobra Kai on Netflix, and so the first six episodes, you got to wait for another 5 months to get the other half.
You're in the good company of the Lost Dogs, who released the Green Room Serenade Part 1 and never actually got around to Part 2. So
they still could do it.
Kickstarter, so can I put in a plug for their Kickstarter? Support the new Lost Dogs Kickstarter. I don't receive royalties from it, but I support it.
I saw that one. Yep. And I saw the Prayer Chain has one for Mercury too. So
my brother was a big Prayer Chain guy. He loved those albums.
Yeah. So there's a couple going on. There's always one going on, and I'm like, I don't have enough money to invest in everything.
Right.
I wish I could.
Right.
But
Once
yeah. So
the comes in, right?
what's that?
Once you cash in on all your cryptocurrency.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So so I assume you're working on eventually finishing Possible Light, and then so what's getting in the way right now? Just life in general.
I also in the meantime have recorded another album, which
it's your own fault.
Which just needs harmonies and to be mixed. So that one is really close. All my vocals are done. That one's called Forests and the Sea, and it's getting close. It's getting close.
That's cool. That's a cool title. I like
13 songs, and it was just kind of I've become a really streaky kind of writer, where in the past it seemed like I was writing all the time, but now I just seem to be on streaks where I write a whole album in like a month, and then I don't write for 5 months after that. But so that's why this one just kind of appeared out of nowhere.
That's cool.
Got done.
I love the title.
It has some of the same cast of characters, but more of this one was the majority of it. Chris Donahue. He's been on a million albums, but it's mainly Chris Donahue and myself, and the drummer playing most of the stuff on this. Chris Donahue's an amazing musician, and he's the sweetest guy too. Just amazing to make music with. So he's on every song and plays the majority of the instruments. He plays a lot of guitar, bass. He's an impressive guy.
What is do you have any type of timeline for when we'll see that?
Well, I hope it's this year. But before that, Mark and I are working on that compilation album, and so that'll be first, and then Force in the Sea will be finished. But it is really close. I can shoot you some secret tracks beforehand if you want to hear some.
Sweet.
Some more good music coming on that. And the other piece, you alluded to this in a Facebook post, but you've written a 25-page treatise to go along with this album on Catholic mystical theology.
I missed
I
kind
of put out for a little bit there on that one. But the other day that my brother showed me that Google creates these kind of AI podcasts. Have you tried it?
Oh, I've heard about it. It's insane.
I made one with my 25-page paper there where they discuss it on there. It's a man and a woman. It is kind of freaky. I sent it to Mark. Did you listen to it, Mark?
I haven't had time. I got it to me a day or two ago, and I haven't had a chance to.
I would love to listen to it. My friend, he was on an episode with me. His name's Price. He wrote a book, and he did that. Like his son told him about it. He's like, "Hey, you could do it," and he just like put in the basic, some basic points about his book and stuff. And it was this podcast of these two guys talking about the book.
It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Just like a real one. They're like, "Welcome to Deep Dive. Today we're talking." I mean, I'll send it to you. It's pretty crazy.
I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
But I guess I'm wondering, what is it about this album, Forest in the Sea, that led to this deep reflection? To write 25 pages about a subject like this.
Was this double spaced, or was it?
Do you mean what led me to the height of arrogance to try to elevate some kind of importance? So, I mean, I think sometimes it's healthy, not like what I just did, but I think sometimes it's healthy to reflect on what things mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beyond just the part of creating it and kind of setting it out into the world. I mean, I just felt like these songs were something that I needed to just think about what they were saying and the larger kind of themes that run through them. And a lot of them are the same themes as always, but just to think to think about how they connect and the bigger purpose, more than just putting out a set of songs. Mm-hmm. So that's what led me to think about it. But then once I got into it, I just got a little nerdy about it and kept writing.
This isn't exactly the same thing, but do you remember when Daniel Amos, those first 3 albums, when they wrote that thing?
The Chronicles, Alarma Chronicles.
Yes, that was so cool. I remember thinking that at the time, and this sounds kind of like similar to that, or
it's not cool. It's crazy, but I'll send you the podcast. It'll summarize it in 12 minutes.
That's cool. I think it's really cool. So you mentioned the compilation, and I'm going to let Mark talk some more about that. You both can, obviously, because I know very little. I know you somehow were able to get Airedale, as a possible song on this thing. So, I'm not sure I approve of that, but but yeah.
So
yeah, go for it, Mark. I want to hear more about this.
Well, this is all Kevin's original idea, right? And one of the things I've appreciated about Kevin is the drive and the desire to use music to benefit others. So when there have been the wildfires in California or the flooding in Kentucky and stuff like that, Kevin's put tracks up at his Bandcamp page for Vanishing Shores to help raise funds for these causes. And I don't know how successful those have been, how many people actually get a track, but it's the idea that, making music has got a positive benefit for somebody else. So, maybe we can start there, Kevin, about that just that sense of what draws you to use music in that way. And then we can, shift to talk about the specific project, but what's that drive?
Yeah. Mark is being very kind as always, but I mean, I do think that it's important to use what you can do to try to help others. Nice. Right. Yeah. I may not be able to be the doctor. I may not be able to be the businessman, or I may not be able to be X, but the things that I can use to try to use those to help other people. I think that's important. And I think the more we think about that, the probably the more people would actually do things to help people. Right. Because whatever it is you do, if you're the plumber, if you're the artist, if you're the taxi driver, what is it you do, and then do that to try to help others, right? So, I mean, I think that's just the motivation. It may not be a lot, but the act of using what you've been given to try to help other people, I think, is an important thing to remind yourself of, right? It doesn't have to be this grand thing. It doesn't have to, change the world. It may just help one person, right, for one day, but it's using what you can do for good, right? And I think that's, I mean, we're all called to that, right? But just to kind of to bring it down to who you are, right? To who you are and what it is you can do. Use that in whatever measure you can do that. Use that. Don't try to be someone.
I think I wrote something a long time ago called Your Currency, and I think I stole it. Kind of, I stole that term from Bono, because he wrote about it. I think it was I can't remember which book it was, Notes on Grace or something about that. But he was talking about, and of course, it's like, okay, you're a Bono for sure. Sure, you can do a lot with your money and whatever. But he was talking about that same concept of like use your currency, and for different people that's different things, and you can't minimize anybody's what they can give, and and a lot of people just they have things that they can give, but they just don't do it. There are other musicians out there that can be doing the type of things that Mark is talking about you doing, and also there are people who feel like I won't make a difference too, but a small, it can be something small. It's just, like you said, you could be a plumber, or, you're giving to other people in your world. Right. So sorry, I shouldn't even, you should be talking. I shouldn't be talking.
No.
but I'm just jumping in because that just resonated with me. So.
Oh yeah, and you're expressing it far better than I could. That's exactly it, right? Whatever it is you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So
Mark.
Yeah, about a month ago, then, playing off the same impetus, Kevin shares another post on Facebook. Only this time, it's not just a single. He's like, "What? Anybody out there want to join me to do an album to benefit?" And in this particular case, it's to benefit Ukrainian refugees that have been resettled in Poland, and the International Rescue Committee is doing a lot of work there, right? So, what's the draw to the Ukrainian refugees and IRC in particular?
Yeah, some of that. You remember, Mark, when the war in Ukraine first started, we did a 3-song kind of EP, right?
St. Francis.
Exactly, and that kind of led to starting our less than successful record company called St. Records. And so, I mean, that piece of it has kind of always been on my mind. But what has brought it up more recently is at work, there's a number of Ukrainians that I work with, and they'll share stories about it, and particularly all of the refugees that have been resettled in Poland, right? Because they're their neighbor, right? And just the challenges of that, and all the orphans, and I mean, obviously, we can't put into words the horror of all of it, right? And the evil of all of it that's occurred. It's headlines for us, but it's real for them, right? A daily struggle. So that's what led to this one, revisiting this idea of trying to support in some measure those people, because of the personal interaction with people at work. They brought it back to mind in real ways with real stories, right? And real stories always break your heart, right? As they should. Don't, then you got to wonder, right, about yourself. So that's what led to this particular kind of choice. But it could be 1,000 choices, right? I mean, it could be 1,000 choices around the block, even of where all of us live. But I guess we had to choose something, right? And we got to do what we can. But it was just the immediacy again of hearing those stories and the heartbreak of that, and just wanting to, again, whatever we can do in small measure, trying to do that, right? And that's where you worked your magic, as always.
Right. Well, I'll share a little bit of that in a moment here. But
was he the magician who was at the show?
No, that was not me.
No, he probably could be, though. He could.
Where, when you've done these fundraising efforts, it's been just Vanishing Shores with that 3-song EP or individual tracks. I'm also curious about, your call for others to join in with you. Where, what was the drive there?
Well, one of the main drives is that the more we have, the harder it is to ignore.
Well, you have that network too,
Right. I mean, everyone who's a part of it then gives their best effort to draw attention to it, right?
Yeah.
More voices you have, the better. I didn't have a lot of thought about it other than the need. I thought about that, but I didn't do a lot of planning, and that's why, again, that's where Mark comes in with his magic. He's the friend of all, so he has, he's always good about forming relationships with everyone, right? I don't know one person who's ever met Mark that doesn't want to be his friend, right?
Yeah.
Appreciate that. You're very kind. So I saw this post that Kevin had made, and so full disclosure, technically I am Vanishing Shores manager. I show up on the Bandcamp page as the manager, and on the Vanishing Shores webpage.
Yeah.
And many days I feel like I am that in name only. Kevin probably gets his money's worth out of me, which is he doesn't pay me anything. So,
he's not even you're on the CD. You're on the liner notes on maps, at least.
So, someday I life, full-time job, I don't always get a chance to invest in this the way I'd like to, but I saw this post and thought, okay, there's other people that I think would be willing, who are actual musicians who might be willing to do this. So I reshared that Facebook post and then started tagging other folks that I know who are musicians. And then also started sending some direct, messages or emails to some folks. And to hear Kevin talk, the initial dream was to have maybe 10 people, right, join in on this thing. Well, just about everybody that I've reached out to or had tagged has responded affirmatively.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, maybe we're going to get 15 people out of this, maybe 20. Right now, we stand at 23 artists that have said, yes, count me in. I want to be a part of this project. And they are folks from the Cleveland area, where Vanishing Shores is based out of that market. We've got folks from Central Ohio. We've got Jim with Airedale coming out of the Baltimore area. We've got Robert Diebel in the Pacific Northwest. We got Chris Taylor down in San Antonio, Texas. Some other folks from Texas. So we've got artists from all across the country, regional artists and some other artists that have more, name recognition or kind of a minor national following. And it's just been really cool to see the enthusiasm and the willingness of folks to jump on board with this project. So the day that this first started to blow up, okay, 10 o'clock in the morning, I never imagined that I'd be backing into, working on an album project. And again, full disclosure, I've never coordinated a project like this before. So I'm kind of faking it till I make it. I'm making it up as I go along.
No, he's the mastermind. And tell him the only person that told us no, we'll publicly shame him, is Phil Madeira. You tell him.
Well,
he didn't tell him no. He just couldn't. He wasn't available.
Right. There were a couple of folks who we approached and were interested, but just with other projects, other things coming. Phil's got 2 projects he's kickstarting. Mm-hmm. He's, touring with Emmylou Harris and folks like that. So
I
totally get where, folks just may not have the time to be able to participate in the way they want. But
it isn't about Phil. Phil does play on my track, though. He plays some organ on it, so that he is on it.
Oh, cool. He's on there, yeah. Yeah, I think I saw a post maybe a week or so ago, and I think maybe it was a little longer than that. I think there was 21 artists at that point. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Is Mark going to have to start turning people away? Well, how big is this album? It's going to be a double album.
I think this is where we're going to cap out. I initially thought, 2021 would be it. And then we've had a couple other people that I had reached out to and got back to me late, or a couple of folks that just responded. I think he's a New York musician, Dan Maraldi, who has done some stuff with Kevin. And Dan reached out and said, yeah, I'd love to be a part of this. So it's really fun. And the diversity of music is really cool on this project. Yeah. And again, it kind of reflects, since I reached out to a lot of these folks, it reflects my own kind of weird and diverse musical taste. We've got some really beautiful singer-songwriter folky kinds of stuff. Michelle Thompson is got a track, Riptide, that she wrote with Steve Hindalong, and a third guy at Phil Madeira's Mercyland track, and a songwriting camp. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I think his first name is John, and I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but beautiful folk song. We've got another guy from the Cleveland area who is an Irish transplant to Cleveland. And so we've got this Irish folk song coming in. We've got Robert Diebel's gorgeous chamber folk music. I don't know if y'all aren't familiar with Robert, definitely worth a deep dive into his stuff. And then we go to the pop rock stuff of Kevin and Vanishing Shores. Chris Taylor's really eclectic, funky art rock stuff that'll be coming. Todd Pennington from Cinder Highway will be contributing a track. So some really great alternative rock stuff. And then I don't know if y'all remember a band from the CCM market in the early 90s called Velocipede. It was on the
I don't.
REX label.
Hmm.
Kind of this heavy, sludgy. It was a two-piece, like back when
Interesting.
drums and guitar, like the Black Keys do, but predated Black Keys. So anyway, Dan Gunn, who's the main guy in that band, has gone on to do some several solo albums, and Dan Danngunn, Dan Gunn, are some really cool post-punk kinds of stuff. So we've got a really eclectic mix of music and artists from all over the country, and so hope you're interested and willing to have a really fun and wild ride. We've got Josh Rude from P. Rue Records and Puddle Jumper also from P. Rue.
Cool.
Some really eclectic experimental lo-fi stuff, coming in there. So we're just really all over the map musically on this project. And folks are willing to get behind it and say, hey, we want to help make a difference in our world and make a difference for these Ukrainian refugees that have been impacted by this horrific war that's torn their homeland apart.
So yeah, it's an awesome cause, but it's also very exciting to me. Maybe I'm really old school, but I don't know if you guys even remember this, but there were these compilation albums. I think they were called American Music Journal or something like that. I have them
Mm-hmm.
buried in my collection, a couple of them, and they're very eclectic. That's what this project reminds me of. It's very eclectic, and I heard about a lot of the people that I grew to love from those. So I would encourage everyone to seek this out because that's where I heard about Chris Taylor. It was Chris
Mm-hmm.
Taylor from and Windows. That was before Love Coma.
Yeah.
I think Robert Deedle was on one of them.
Yeah.
Um, Sixpence was on one of them. Poor old Lou. I mean, these, before they were anything, they had these really eclectic compilations that reminds me of this very much. And us true music lovers,
Mm-hmm.
love stuff like that. And also, it's really interesting for people to get their hands on it with all the different styles,
Yeah.
meshed together. So
Yeah.
it's super exciting.
Yeah, we're really grateful for everyone. And Bill Melanie, right? You
Yep.
said,
Yep. Bill Maloney from Vigilantes of
Ah,
Love's going to be on this.
oh,
wow.
So we've got the Americana with Bill. There's another guy based out of West Virginia named William Matheny, and William's a really great songwriter. To my book, every bit as good as somebody like Jason Isbell, but just doesn't have the quite same platform. And loved Williams stuff. He's going to be on here. A couple other folks I discovered through Chris Taylor, Janet Pokop is going to be on this project, and Shawnee Kilgore. So we just got a really phenomenal project coming along. Jamie Ravine is a songwriter from the Columbus area, so we've got her joining in on this project. She's had already written a song about the Ukrainian refugees, and
Oh,
so she's going to be contributing that to the project as well. So um,
and
I'm
Mick
I'm excited.
Jagger.
who's what's that?
I'm kidding. I said Mick Jagger.
You, I'm singing about you.
Exactly.
So, oh shoot, now I lost my thought. I had a good question too. Dang it.
Well,
So are most of these songs already written? I mean, where are we at on the timeline? It just depends. Some of them
it
are finished,
it
some of them are not.
it depends on the artist. We kind of left it
Okay.
wide open to say if you've got something that's already done and you want to pull something out of your catalog and contribute that, groovy. If you want to write something new and contribute that, fantastic. If you want to, use an outtake or a demo or whatever, right? So
as long as you get it to us by June 1st.
June
That's
1st.
what I was getting ready to ask. So what's the timing like,
Yeah. Yeah. So we wanted about 2 months or so to allow folks to pull things together and get it to us. And so far, I think I've got 10 or 11 tracks in hand. So we're just about at the halfway point for the submissions. And so it's coming together well.
June 1st, we'll get all the tracks, and then the ones that aren't mastered, we'll master. So a couple weeks there, and then Mark can mastermind the release date.
We'll coordinate that. We've already, asked the artists to help spread the word to their fans and followers. So we're hoping that this will generate some good interest, good cause, a lot of really great musicians on here. I've been trying to name all the folks that have contributed, and I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody. But we today just got the track from Jeff Elbell. His band Ping got some really good stuff, and it's one of the songs from his Three Finger Opera album. Jeff's become a
great guy.
Let me ask this. Can I ask this question? So are you, when you say you're at 23 artists right now, is that closed? Is it still open? Or are you wrapping up who, can you bring someone else in?
If we bring anybody else in, I was going to say we'll probably have to start another project at this point.
Okay.
23, I think, is probably at our limit, especially now that we're about a month away from our final submission.
Yeah, that's true.
Any more than that, and then I've seen compilations that have 30, 40 artists, and by that point you're kind of getting lost. And I tend to be a completist and want to start something at the beginning of the album, and so I get about an hour in and 20 tracks down, and then the second half of a project like that, it just doesn't get listened to in the same way. So
unless Bono is still waiting to send
well, when he hears this. Jim, what did you tell
on the
me?
Show next.
Jim told me we're gonna get Bono one day.
Yeah, once we got Steve Kilbey, we can get
once we got Steve Kilbey, he's like, I'm gonna get Bono.
Get Bono next.
Hey, Stranger Things, man. So
right.
So, but cool. That sounds great.
I've several of the artists I've named already are alum of this podcast. I've been interviewed here previously.
Yeah,
so we've got
Chris Taylor,
Todd Pennington, Kevin Bianchi, Vanishing Shores now. Todd Pennington from the Cinder Highway, and of course Jim Anderson with Airedale. So, 4 or 5 of those artists are also showing up on our project.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you're contributing a brand new track for this one, right?
Yeah.
This is why don't you talk to us about that song?
We don't want to reveal it yet. We gotta
be careful. You got to keep them. Yeah.
We don't want the cat out of the bag yet. But Phil does play on it. We can say that.
Okay.
Chris Donahue plays on it.
All right.
So we have some of the pals.
I respect the mystery. We got to do that. You got to have that.
It's kind of a roots rocky track. It's a little different.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
A little more rootsy.
Yeah. And a project like this has been really fun because I'm getting to discover new artists. While a lot of these are folks that I've already known, Kevin turned me on to another Cleveland songwriter, Michelle. Is it Romari? Is that how you say her last name? Michelle Romari. So she's got some really good stuff. I picked up one of her EPs. And then this band called Connected View reached out, and it's really funky, kind of ambient keyboard based music. And you introduced me to something. I'm going to add it to my Bandcamp library. So I went down hard and got all of the stuff from Connected View and their additional project Rewilding. But it's this really cool ambient keyboard, natural sounds kind of stuff. And I'm not even sure how Jake and his partner found out about this project. They follow.
Yeah, or either. I think they just saw the post.
Yeah. I don't know if they follow St. Francis Records or Vanishing Shores or something, but saw the post and said, "Hey, count us in." So we've had some of those just random things popping in. And then we're gonna get a I think this may be like a debut or a returning track. I mentioned Dan Gunn, his wife Jen is also a singer, and Jen's got a track on here.
Excellent.
So she'll be singing separately. So I think I've been able to recall just about everybody that's going to be on this project. If I forgot somebody, my deep apologies. But it's been really, really fun to work on this.
Yeah.
Mark is the magic man.
The magic man.
He's done an amazing job.
Yeah. Well, great.
I wanted him to do a track, but he decided against it.
Me and
The
my
day
one
might
string.
come.
Me and my one string canjo.
You have a ukulele, right?
I've got various instruments that I've picked up but have never really figured out or learned how to play. But yes, I do have a ukulele.
And I know you have a guitar because I think I've seen footage of you playing with a group, I think, or
it's been a couple of years. I played something with church group a couple of years ago, and then in the aftermath of my fall, a little over a year ago, I just really haven't done much.
Yeah,
trying to play instruments.
He may yet surprise us.
You never know.
Yeah.
Never know.
Never too late.
That's right.
That's true. Absolutely. Well, thanks for the time. Thanks for the chat. This was a great chat. This is long. We're going to hit 2 hours. We didn't do 3 hours like Mark and I did the one time, or Jim. Jim and I did 3 hours before too.
We did a few hours and then didn't record the whole time.
I don't want to talk about that.
Too soon.
Yeah, that was one of our 2 times where we failed to get it recorded. Steve Scott was one of them.
Yeah.
And the other one was when we talked about a church albums, but we got
that's right.
Hopefully we'll have this one as soon as I hit end. We'll have this one.
I keep looking at that.
You keep looking at the record.
It's recording. Yep.
Yeah. That's the first thing I do now when I get on, even if I'm like 15 minutes early. I just hit that button because I've learned. But yeah.
Well, this was great.
We'll be looking forward to, it's great in getting to know you and hear about your thoughts and the way you approach music, and looking forward to hearing more. So
thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great night, and we'll all talk soon, and we'll do a follow-up, Mark.
Sounds good.
When in June or whenever we, probably later than that, but anyway, when we get back together, we'll talk about it again.
That sounds good. We'll hopefully have an update on the project. That will be it'll be a Bandcamp only release, so save on manufacturing costs and things like that. It'll be a digital release. So
yeah,
it's gonna be.
But
great.
I'll keep throwing it out in my intros and outros and stuff. So
appreciate that.
All the artists, your computer screen if you want.
What's that?
I said all the artists will sign your computer screen though if you want that.
Oh, will they? That's Kevin's guarantee.
Yeah. And it just occurred to me, we've been talking about this project. We've not said the name of the album. So I think it might be worth saying.
I don't think I know. Oh yeah, I do know it. I have it right in front of me. Go ahead, Mark.
So for this compilation album, we're drawing from one of the songs from Possible Light Volume 1, and we're calling it No Distance Between Us, a benefit for Ukrainian refugees. And it just seemed in that description of no distance between us that even though, all of these artists are here on this side of the Atlantic in the U.S., they are moved by what's happening in this other part of the world and kind of pulling together. And when Robert Diebel was asking, is there sort of a theme for the album? And we were kind of bouncing some ideas around. Robert used this idea that kind of the thrust and the theme of the album was hope against the odds. So all of these songs are about, persevering and finding a way through in the face of adversity. And the artwork Kevin got from his artist Matthew Childers, who's done all the other St. Francis projects. It's a beautiful blue background with a white image. And Petra Kivka is the style of art of this floral, natural elements that's used in a lot of Ukrainian folk art and decoration of homes and things like that. It's just an absolutely beautiful cover. So if you folks go to the St. Francis Records Facebook page, you get a chance to see the art there.
Yep, I just saw it today. It's up there. It's cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, have a great evening. Talk to you all soon.
Yeah, sounds great.
Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Yeah, great to meet you, both of you, and good to see you, Mark.
Great to see you too, Kevin.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
Jimmy.
care.
Thanks,
Until next time.
Cheers.
Take care.